Hey everybody. Today I'm going to be sharing what I've learned over the last year or so of producing these YouTube videos. Topics will include the challenges I've faced, trying to find the right equipment, the importance of finding the right NLE or nonlinear editor for you, the importance of knowing your audience, and some of the challenges I've faced coming from an audio editing background. For those of you who are new to the channel, hi, I'm Jesse, and I'm a podcast editor, engineer, coach, content creator, but oddly enough, I'm not a podcaster. But I do create videos where I talk about equipment, editing, and I share my experiences and knowledge in hopes of helping you in some way. And I do want to take a minute to welcome back the returning viewers. When I started this channel a little over a year ago, I did so with no real background in recording video. I'm an audio guy through and through. It's just my world. So video is a new thing that I knew nothing about. I mean, I've helped Tara on video shoots, but she's always handled the camera stuff and the editing, and I've handled the audio. The one thing to really remember when you're learning something new is that you don't know what you don't know. Like many who are starting out, I used what I had laying around, and it didn't take long for me to realize that my video quality was lacking. I've cycled through the following over the last year, and each step improved the quality along the way. I started with the Lumina webcam. Then I moved on to the webcam built into the Mac Studio display. Then I moved to an iPhone. Then I upgraded to a Canon R8. However, going back to the whole idea of not knowing what I didn't know, I quickly found one of those little details with the R8. It overheats after about 40 or 45 minutes when recording via the cam link in 4K. It's fine at 1080, but at 4K, it overheats at about 40-45 minutes. And that's a limitation that I don't really want to live with because the quality of 4K makes a pretty big difference. And I'm a big believer in capturing the highest quality recordings that I can. And that's what's led me to the Canon R5C. It doesn't overheat. It has a built-in fan. I'm waiting to receive the dummy battery for the camera, so right now I'm borrowing Tara's R6 Mark II for recording this video. For those who are wondering, the R6 Mark II can run 4K 30 without overheating. I've used it during a couple of 90-minute client recording sessions and recorded over an hour of video earlier this week. And to top it off, I've left it powered on for 48 or more hours while feeding it into QuickTime, and the worst that happened was the camera got a little warm. It didn't overheat, it didn't shut off. So the R6 Mark II is a very capable camera at 4K 30 when we're talking about recording content using a cam link or recording to a camera. These limitations probably don't exist when we're recording internally or to a hard drive. So I just wanted to clarify with that. And I do know that the R6 can do 4K 60 and 6K, but the 4K 30 limitation is a limitation of the cam link and not the camera. But when I moved to the R8, I also added lights to my setup, and that's made a huge difference too. I went with the Elgato key lights, and I know this is starting to sound like an Elgato ad, but that's because they tend to have the best options for my needs and my setup. I chose the key lights because they're desk mounted and can be controlled from my computer or from a Stream Deck. When I record, I close the shades in the room, I turn off the overhead light, and the only light in the room, the only light right now, is coming from the two key lights, and my room is otherwise dark. Let me show you what my room looks like when I turn the lights off. And then the camera does adjust for the light some, but you can see how much of a difference that makes. Let's let the camera reset, and that's what I've learned about production over the last year. This brings us to the post-production process, which has been a bit of a mixed bag for me. The basics, they're easy enough to pick up once you find the right platform, at least if you're coming from an audio editing background. The concepts, they're pretty much the same, but it's the how that might be different. And this was another thing that took me some time to figure out, because I can't stand any Adobe product I've used, so Premiere was not a consideration. So I started with DaVinci Resolve because it was free, and we did have the premium license from owning one of their cameras. I'd taken on a project for the National MS Society for basically editing some in-house presentations, and used DaVinci for that project. The workflow and the learning curve wasn't too bad for basic editing, but I wasn't in love with it. I wasn't a fan of all of the different pages or the tabs, so I thought I'd check out to see if Apple offered a trial for Final Cut Pro. It turns out we still had an active license from, 10 years ago, so I installed the latest version and started working with it. And just right away, I loved the magnetic timeline. I shouldn't have really been surprised here because I've been using Logic, I've been using Apple products for 20 years now, and they just seem to click with the way that I think and the way that I want to work. Once you learn the basics of editing, the challenges become more about marketing, psychology, and knowing your audience in order to create compelling content that will help the channel grow. And if you're a podcast editor just getting into video editing, pay attention here because this is the stuff you really need to understand to retain video clients. The clients are going to be looking at you as the guide here. Who do you think they're going to go to if their videos aren't doing well? YouTube is a whole different world compared to audio-only podcasts. YouTube is about getting people to click on your video. And let me pause things for just a second and ask that if you're enjoying this video, to give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more of my content. Like I was saying, when you're on YouTube, the whole trick is to get people to click on your video. And the YouTube part of this, it's a whole other thing. Once the video is recorded, edited, mixed, and ready to go, there's this whole other element. There was probably a bigger learning curve for me to YouTube than anything else. And this is where I think many podcast editors might find themselves struggling when it comes to adding video for clients. There's a lot more to it than simply editing the video and uploading it if the client wants to see success and growth. Many podcasters think that YouTube will just magically help people find your video, and that's not the way that it works. There's a lot more strategy to it than that. Think of it like the world's largest bookstore. It has every book ever written. The books aren't really well organized, so you can only find them via a search or a recommendation algorithm. And you're never presented with just one choice. You're presented with many, and you can only choose one at a time. Unless you know exactly which book you want, you're going to rely on things like the title, the cover, and one line of text to decide which one you want to look at first. And I'm using this example to demonstrate that the packaging of your video is just as important, if not more important, to growth. This means your title and thumbnail, they're important. It can't be approached as an afterthought. And for podcasters, I think that to make the most out of YouTube, it requires a different approach than an audio-only podcast does. Mainly because audio-only has had such terrible searchability that podcasters never had to think about searchability when planning out their shows and topics. So what about you? If you have a YouTube channel, what advice do you have? And if you're a YouTube watcher, What factors influence which videos you click on? Why did you click to watch this video? Let me know in the comments below. And as usual, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.